This is the African News you're broadcasting from Canada. My name is Sandra Asante. Top stories. Ethiopia says UN role in Nile Dam role unhelpful. Sudanese army repels Ethiopian militiamen in border area. South Sudan government committed extrajudicial killings of civilians. African Union condemns violence in South Africa. Details of this and more coming up after the break. You are welcome from the break. Thank you so much for always staying into our first story. Ethiopia has described as unhelpful the intervention of the United Nations in the long-running dispute over its controversial Nile River mega dam. The country's Foreign Affairs Ministry said in a statement that it was regrettable to witness that the process of negotiations had been dragged and politicized. Ethiopia has made its position clear time and time again that this is unproductive, and bringing the subject matter to the United Nations Security Council was and is unhelpful and far from the mandate of the council, the statement added. The huge dam known as the Jet Ethiopia Renaissance Dam, the Jet, has been a point of contention for a decade between Addis Ababa and downstream nation Egypt and Sudan. Ethiopia said on Tuesday that the African Union-led process was important in addressing the concerns of the three concerns and that it was committed to seeing the process to a successful conclusion. Ethiopia says the project is essential to its development and has started filling it, but the other two countries fear it could restrict their citizens' water access. We move to Sudan now, and the Sudanese armed force in Gadaref state last Sunday repelled Ethiopian militias that crossed the borders into the eastern Sudan border area. The executive director of the Basanda border locality in the Gadaref state, Mahmoud Abel Rahim, said that the Ethiopian militiamen sought again to take control of the Sudanese area that the army had previously chased them from it. Abdul Rahim added that the Ethiopian militias wanted to control the border area of the Omu Diblo has Kanet near the border to enable their farmers to cultivate it. The armed forces and reserve forces recover the Sudanese territory and expelling the Ethiopian militias that control 50,000 acres in this area, he added. Ethiopian government massed troops on the border area with Sudan, but their militiamen continue to sneak into the Sudanese territory. Sudanese officials accused the Ethiopian authorities of turning a blind eye to the attacks if they are not encouraging them. Abdul Rahim stressed that the Sudanese army continues to conduct patrols to monitor the borders and protect Sudanese farmers who resume their activities. Due to the border crisis Ethiopia coupled with the Jet dispute, the relationship of Sudan and Ethiopia has become severely strained. Sudanese government, on the other hand, residents of the border area accused the former regime of allowing Ethiopian farmers to seize their cultural lands. Also, Khartoum says the Ethiopian farmers are welcome as foreign investors once the border makers are placed. Also, Khartoum says the Ethiopian farmers are welcome as foreign investors once the border markers are placed. We are still in Sudan, and a new report has pinned the South Sudanese government of committing extrajudicial killings, including ethnic-based killings of civilians, widespread sexual violence, and the use of food as a weapon of war. The 2021 report to Congress pursuant to Section 5 of the Eri-tv Genocide and Atrocities Prevention Act of 2018 was released on Monday. In South Sudan, the State Department coordinated financial and political support to establish an African Union hybrid court to investigate and prosecute perpetrators of war crimes and crimes against humanity, the report read in part. The government has perpetrated extrajudicial killings, including ethnic-based killings of civilians, widespread of sexual violence, and use of food as a weapon of war. Non-government armed groups also perpetrated unlawful killings, rape, sexual slavery, and forced recruitment of children, it added. According to the report, the African Union and the United Nations have separately documented atrocities in the East African relation. In February 2021, Secretary Blinken stated those responsible for human rights violations in South Sudan must be held to account. The AU Commission of Inquiry and the UN Commission on Human Rights for South Sudan have documented atrocity, the report stated. State Department continue to support civil society documentation to further truth, justice and accountability, and advocate for the robust mandate for the Commission on Human Rights in South Sudan to collect and preserve evidence. U.S. aid supports civil society and independent media to promote political stability, peace building, and citizen participation in oversight of peace agreement implementation. According to the report, Joe Biden administration is committed to promoting democratic values that underpin a stable international system critical to freedom, prosperity, and peace. In May, Security Council renewed the armed embargo, travel ban and access freeze imposed on South Sudan for another year and extended for 13 months the mandate of the panel of experts tasked with helping they oversee those measures. South Sudan, however, said the sanction impeded the implementation of its peace agreement. We now move to South Africa, and the African Union Commission has condemned the violence in South Africa that has left 72 people dead. Protests against the jailing of former President Jacob Zuma morphed into looting and destruction of property in some provinces. The AU Commission chairperson Musa Faki Mahamat condemns in the strongest terms the surge of violence that has resulted in the death of civilians and appalling scenes of the looting of public and private property. The commission said in a statement, the army was deployed to combat the violence and thousands have been arrested. The chairperson calls for an urgent restoration of order, peace and stability in the country in full respect of the rule of law, the statement added. He said failure to resolve the crisis would have grave impact in the country and the region. Still on the Jacob Zuma route, and long queues for fuel and food have formed in South Africa coastal city of Durban after looting and routing destroyed businesses and caused them to close shops. Business owners in the city are slowly returning to their premises to evaluate the damage following days of unrest. Our team filled one of the looted shops. Many businesses have been totally wiped out and destroyed after angry mobs looted virtually every shop in the center and the city's malls. Firefighters lined the street early in the morning to begin the grueling process of cleaning up the mess in Durban. Empty shoe boxes, broken dishes, rotten foods and debris lined virtually every street in once blasted city center. Some residents have also joined in, armed with brooms. They have been chasing away anyone trying to loot whatever is left. Long queues are forming outside supermarkets as people grappled with shortage of basics. Fuel shortages have been reported in some parts as the transportation of fuel has been affected. It will take a while to clear the trail of destruction that left at least 72 people dead with more than 1,200 others arrested across KwaZulu-Natal and Gauteng, the two provinces affected by the violence sparkled by the jailing last week of former President Jacob Zuma for contempt of court. Thank you so much for tuning in to today's African News. My name is Sandra Asante. We'll see you some other time.